2011 called, and they want their speakers back. Let's get this BAVSound speaker upgrade going so we can get some crisp tunes flowing through this E92. What's going on, my good people? Mike Hidalgo here. Thank you for joining me on another FCP Euro DIY. Today, we're going to be working on a 2011 BMW 328i E92. On today's DIY, we're going to be installing a set of Stage 1 coax BAVSound speaker upgrades. This is one of the many kits we have available on fcpo.com. This kit is going to be specifically for the cars with the quote-unquote bass sound system, meaning it doesn't have any additional tweeters or center speakers on the dash, anything of that goodness. But for those of you looking to do a bigger upgrade on a more advanced sound system, we'll have some more DIYs coming on that soon. In front of us, this kit is going to be applicable to your E90, E91, E92, and E93 chassis. The only differentiator here is going to be that on the E90 and E91, your rear door speakers, the process is going to be exactly the same as the front door speakers, which we're going to cover today. On the coupe and convertible, you have a different body panel as you only have two doors that we're going to be removing on the interior, so we'll show you how to do both. These are going to be a nice upgrade from the factory speakers that the cars come equipped with, and as they age over time, they probably don't sound as good as they did back when the vehicle was new. This coax speaker upgrade is going to be a plug-and-play kit for your E9X vehicle. They're going to take the same hardware, the same plug, and everything that is already in your car, just made with better components for a better, crisper sound. Before we get started on this install though, let's take a look at some of the tools you're going to need for this DIY. For this DIY, we have various different trim removal tools, a T20, a Phillips flashlight. We also have a set of pliers for some rivets in case we come across some of those, or maybe some metal speed clips. And we also have a magnet tool for our hardware that we're going to be removing. Now we know what we're working with, let's go ahead and get started on this DIY. All right, today we're going to be focusing on the driver's side of the E92. However, the steps are going to be identical for both the front and the rear door. Of course, this is going to be a coupe, so the panel is going to be a little bit different on the coupe and convertible, but the four-door option is going to be pretty much this step right here. The only thing that may change on your rear doors or your passenger door is that your handle is a little bit different. The driver's just has a grab handle built into the door card versus the passenger having a protruding handle that you grab from the side. Same idea though, you're just popping off some trim to get some Torx bolts out so we can get this baby on the table to swap out our speaker. First things first is we have to remove this wood trim. You want to be super careful with this when you pull it out. We're going to start from the front, just releasing the clips. They're just press fit, so they're not like a traditional door panel clip, which we're going to come into in a moment. So once you get it started in the front, we're going to work our way back with our fingers slowly, but a trim tool, plastic one preferably here, is going to be needed. So let's get started with that first. Take your time with it, go nice and slow, especially if it's your first time taking this off. Last thing you want to do is crack your nice wooden trim finish. Now we have the trim piece removed. We're going to grab our T20. We have 4 T20s located along the backside of where the trim piece sat. We're going to get those off, and then we can start working the door card off. Now we have our 4 T20s removed. We do have a couple things that are going to be attached to the interior of the card, meaning the release for the interior handle, obviously the wiring for our speaker, our window switches, and we have a little courtesy light down below. What we're going to do is grab our trim removal tool. Again, plastic only recommended for this. We're going to work at, I like to work at the corner of the door cards typically, and work my way around and then work my way up. Obviously you may have a different method, but for me this tends to work. This is usually the softer part of the door card. Get our tool in, get that started. That initial pop, that's one of those plastic clips. Hold our door card on. There's a second one. As soon as you can, whenever you're doing stuff like this, the second you can get your fingers in place, switch to your fingers. They're not going to scratch anything. You can get a better feel of where those tight spots are for the clips. Just makes life a little bit easier, a little bit more gentle on your vehicle. Using our thumb to push off, you can see I have my fingers behind the door card, thumb up against the door. That's kind of the trick to work your way around the door card. These are always a little bit tricky, whether you're doing a coupe or sedan. The clips right here just always put up a good fight. Now we want to work our door card up so we can release it from the door lock. There we go, pull away. And at the very top, we just have a couple metal clips that key into the door card. That's all that you're releasing. Now come a little bit closer. I'll show you what we're going to disconnect before we head over to the workbench with our door card. Starting with our door release, we're going to go ahead and just pull that out of the two channels that it sits in. Pretty straightforward. We're going to grab it from the back of the white clip here. Just pull it out. Really straightforward and easy. Be mindful to not pinch this if you're going to close the door once you step away from the vehicle. We're just going to let it hang down for a moment. You can see we have a plastic clip here for the harness that goes to our courtesy light. That can just pop out of the door card, and then you just pull back on the little electrical connector. Let that baby hang down. With that free, let's head over to our speaker. This is what we're going to be replacing. We're just going to go ahead and unplug that baby. Same thing, just pull back. These can be a little bit tight sometimes. If your vehicle has interior lighting, there's going to be another connector for that. You can see the strip that runs through the door card here. Same idea. Just go ahead and gently pull that connector back. And then last but not least, we have our window switch. To release that, you're going to have a small tab to press down. This might be a 2-finger operation. Press down on that little release tab, slide the hook back. That's going to pop the connector up, and you can pull it off. And with that, we have successfully freed up our door card. Let's head over to the workbench and get the speaker swapped out. All right, we have our door card on our workbench. Now, could you swap out the speaker hanging onto the door card like I was in the car? Sure, but this is going to give you the best view so that you at home can do your own DIY install. We're going to grab our T20 and get the 3 T20s that hold our factory speaker in. So let's zap those babies out. With those out, we can pull this out. Here's our old factory cone. Nothing sexy, nothing special to look at, and surely outdated. I'm going to set that sucker off to the side. Get our new crisp goodness out. Now, while these are plug and play, you'll notice that the speakers have a much longer harness to them than the factory ones that we removed, so we'll be sure to tuck this and make it look nice and neat. But for now, we're going to install it. Make sure that your seal is nice and flat on the speaker. You don't want it to get pinched in a weird way when you're installing it. Line that baby up. Perfect fit. Now we'll get these 3 T20 started. Again, I'll do this all by hand. Don't use an electric driver. It's not that long of a screw, and you can risk stripping the plastic housing that it goes into. Nice and snug, using the old calibrated fingers. Now we have what is the excess harness. If you remember the factory speaker, the plug was built in, and it sat right up top. So we kind of want to have this, we want this to land somewhere where the old one was, as the harness coming off of the door isn't so long, so we can leave this part loose, but I think what we're going to do here is zip tie this together and just use a little bit of gaff tape to hold it off to the side so it's not bouncing around inside the door card. While I have you up here, we're going to work on replacing some of these door clips. You can see what this car was probably originally equipped with was these insulated ones. Obviously this door card has been off before. We have a couple red ones, a couple white ones, a couple mismatched. Not crucial, but if we're going to be doing all this work and upgrading the sound of the vehicle, we want to keep the door card from rattling. So like we mentioned at the beginning, we have the nice insulated door panel clips. We're just going to work our way around, replace them so they're all nice and even, and we'll go from there. To replace these, you simply slide them out. There's a little keyhole on the back of the door cards. They slide in and they slide out. Pretty straightforward. They need to have a little bit of play in them so that when you put the door card back on, you can align them ever so slightly. And then once it's cinched up against the door card isn't going to go anywhere. At this point, we are ready to reinstall our door card. Again, if you're going to be adding some extra sound insulation to the back of the door card, just be mindful of giving yourself space for your handle, where the routing for the release cable is going to go, maybe the routing for your light, so you don't kind of block yourself in with too much sound insulation. But for now, let's grab this door card and head back over to the BMW. We're back at the door. We're going to go ahead and install our door panel or door card once more. We're going to work in the reverse order of how we remove things. So we're going to start with the connector for the window switch first. Then we'll do the speaker, the ambient lighting, and then we'll go from there. Plug that baby in, lock and loaded, no problem. Just resting the door card on our legs. Blue plug for the speaker. We have a lot more wiggle room with the new harness, which is kind of nice. Again, it's not all needed, but it only goes in one way. There's two little pins in here. These top ones are we're going to plug into the plug on the new harness for the new speaker. Little tap here helps line it up. These plugs may look a little bit crazy because they have a ton of ears on them, but you gotta remember these fit more than just one vehicle, so they're gonna manufacture them with the ability to plug into almost anything versus just one model. And continuing on the lighting thing, we're gonna hook up the light here at the bottom of our door card. And we can feed our harness back into the door card, clip that baby in there, and then I'm assuming this one ran further up here. This one was unplugged, probably from when we pulled off the door card. Then we have one more up here, which we'll get in just a moment. Let's get our door release cable in place. To install the release cable once more, press the handle in the closed position, meaning you haven't pulled on it yet. Your white clip, the outer part of it, the end, clips into this little tiny tab here at the front. Line that baby up, push it down, and you're good to go. Don't forget to route the wire or route the cable back through the door card. Just like that. And this last grommet can go right here. Now we're going to work at the top of the card. Get this lock release through there. And then we're going to line up our metal tabs with the opening on the inside of the door card. Go. Just kind of push in towards the outer skin of the door. And then with the card started in place, we're going to work our way around, trying to see if we can get an eyeball in there to line up the clip with the hole on the door. Once you get one or two started, they're going to kind of all self-align, and you can just gently tap them in. So just taking a peek in there, you can see how those clips line up against the door, and then we'll give them a little push of encouragement to get them in all the way. Once you get them clipped in, just run your fingers around the edge. Make sure there's no weird gaps, and as long as those are nice and situated, and we should have no problem getting our 4 T20s started back in by hand. Just snug it up. Once the screw stops, then you're gonna be good to go. Now we're gonna install our trim piece, lining up the tabs or the dowels going into our press fit clips on the door card. Once you get them all kind of lined up, you can start working it in slowly. Just try not to really put any weird strain or bends in your trim. You don't want to crack the wood finish or scratch it or drop it. Once you get it started, just use your hands to press it in. There we go. Back here, I'm going to be working off on the side so I can keep my big body out of the way. But we're going to start by removing the rear bottom portion of the seat. And to do that, it's pretty standard like any BMW you've come across, with the only exception that in the coupe, the rear seat is split. So we're going to be taking out the cushions individually for this job, which makes them a little bit easier to handle. But pretty standard. You're just going to reach underneath the bottom of the seat like you would on any other BMW and just give it a good lift up. There we go. Pull this baby out and set it to the side. With the seat out, we can work on removing our wood trim just like we did on the main driver's door and passenger door. You're going to want to find a nice lip to start working it off. We're going to grab our trim removal tool, just work that under, get that started. We can pop it off the rest of the way. With the trim piece removed, we have 2 T20s to undo. So we're going to go ahead and zap those out. Now, before we pull this trim panel off, this keys in to this bottom sill panel here on the inside of the car. So in order to do this properly, we're just going to go ahead and pull this up now. We're just going to get a good grip on it from the inside and lift up. There we go. There we go. We're gonna go ahead and pull it off the rest of the way, just so that this panel can go on first during reinstallation, and then we can feed this clip portion of this one in after. We can just kind of swing it in and plop it down. So now before we start pulling this off, we can lift up on this weather stripping first, just to help release this trim panel a bit easier. It also gives you a better spot to grab from. I'm just gonna reach in and lift up. There we go. And we'll work our way back to the front. Get that baby up. And to release it from the car, we're gonna kind of pull it away from that C-pillar. And now with that panel exposed, we can undo our speaker. Just pull back. You can swing that over a bit more. And now we can undo the module for the seatbelt. We have one small tab here to press down on. Once you press that, pull back to release. And then if your vehicle is equipped with it, we have the ambient lighting, just like we did on the front door card. Because we have the base model system, we only have a speaker to replace. If this car had tweeters, those are gonna hide right underneath here behind the insulation, in which case you would want to remove that. Now, we don't have to do that, but I'm gonna show you how to get that up and off. So if you have to access that or you're gonna be installing tweeters, you can do so. Using a trim removal tool again, or a metal version of this, you have a bunch of speed clips, or at least that's what I call them, little metal washers that sit around this insulation. When you go to get those off, you can just pry them up. Use your finger to cover them so they don't fly out, otherwise you're gonna lose them and they're gonna fling across your shop or garage. So I like to get my trim tool behind the insulation and the washer. Put your finger over it and just work the washer off. And here you go. So you have a few of those. We're gonna do one there and we're gonna do this one here, just so you can see what that tweeter location looks like. I caved and grabbed my metal trim removal tool. This is a rivet removal tool. Just gonna get underneath, push up, cover it with our finger so it doesn't fly away. Just to give you a quick look of what that looks like, you can see this hole here, which on our car is completely blocked off. On models with a better equipped system, this would be your opening for your tweeter. So, because we don't have that, we're gonna pretend we never messed with this. We're gonna tuck that back into place. Get our little speed clips back on. And just like we did with the front speakers, we have 3 T20s that hold this baby in place. So we're just gonna go ahead and work those out. We can pull this old crusty 2011 sound out. We're gonna get our fresh new BAVSound coax in here. Again, making sure that this gasket stays in place. Beautiful. Our baby keys right in. We're gonna grab our 3 T20s, and just like we did with the front speakers, we're gonna work our way around them, snugging them up nice and gently. Let's go ahead and tuck this wiring up a little bit. You can do this many different ways. You can choose to just tuck it behind the insulation. You can pinch it in this little area where you would have a plastic little like expanding rivet go, and then do that. We're just gonna tuck it behind the insulation. It's not gonna move. There's nothing sharp in between the panel and the insulation to damage our wiring. And it'll keep it from dancing around on us. All right, we're gonna work in reverse. We're gonna plug in our interior lighting once more, or trim lighting, ambient lighting, whatever you wanna call it. That baby just clips right back in. And as we pull it closer, we can plug in our plug once more for the seat belt. Again, make sure the plug is situated all the way in. There we go. So our goal is to get this tiny little tab on the inside of the C-pillar. If you reach in here with your finger, you can feel a tiny skinny opening right behind the fabric. That is for this. Once you get this in place, you kind of have to jiggle it in, work it in at a little bit of an angle, and you can get it in the rest of the way. So that's probably going to be the hardest part of this whole install. It's getting that started. There we go. Once you get that in place, don't forget to pull your seatbelt out from behind. tab here started. Boom. You see we have a nice smooth finish along the bottom of the windshield. Now we can work the rest of the clips in. Get right. Boom. This one in. Nope. There we go. Now we can work on putting our two T20s back in. All right, working in the reverse order, let's get that sill piece installed once more. Okay, with this in place, we're gonna tuck our weather stripping back in. We have a small little tab here. This little tab is what keys in to our panel, which is why we like to remove this, so it's not in the way of our panel when that goes back in. As we line up that tab, we also wanna line up the clips going into the holes here on the rocker. So just make sure you take your time, get those perfectly aligned, and then you can start pressing them in. Boom, baby. We have a nice fit here between our two panels. This is nice and clipped in. And now we need to get our trim piece back in place, lining up those little dowels once more. Beautiful. As you tuck this in, just don't forget to grab the seatbelt receptacle down below. Line this baby up. Push back on it. Make sure that everything looks good. Just give them a good solid push and we're good. All right, at this point we have all 4 speakers installed. The car is fully back together. We're gonna hop back into the driver's seat, get the radio on with some beautiful copyright-free music. Let's see what we got. Wow. That's real nice. I'm real upset we couldn't put these in my E91. Overall, a huge improvement on sound quality alone, and this is just listening to some regular tunes. We hope you enjoyed this DIY. It was pretty straightforward. If you like it, please give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions or comments on what we did today, or you have any further BAVSound upgrades you want to see, leave those in the comment section below. And if you like this DIY and you want to see more like them, please consider subscribing. We make new ones all the time. As always, thank you for watching. Catch you on the next one. Now, don't disturb me.